These are the 15 secrets about Diana's funeral most people miss, and one of them is what Charles reportedly told his sobbing 12-year-old son. You don't cry, you walk. I'm breaking down all 15, from why the government used those boys as human shields to what Diana was actually buried wearing. What 3 things were placed in Diana's coffin, and why one of them should make you furious, and what moment inside Westminster Abbey made the crowd outside break into applause. At a funeral, if you've spent years feeling something about that week was wrong, you were right. Let's get into it. Number 1, Mother Teresa died the day before. Mother Teresa died on September 5th, 1997. Diana's funeral was September 6th, one day apart. The timing stunned the world. These 2 women actually knew each other. Diana visited the sick with her in India and New York. They prayed together. They talked about faith, about helping people nobody else wanted to help, about using their platforms to shine a light on suffering. Before they parted, Mother Teresa gave Diana a set of rosary beads, a personal gift from a living saint. Diana treasured them, kept them close, drew strength from them. 2 women who spent their lives helping people nobody else cared about. 2 women who died within days of each other, connected in life, connected in death. 2 saints, 1 week. The palace never talked about this connection. They didn't want anyone thinking about Diana's spiritual side, the compassion that made her more loved than any of them. But what happened to those rosary beads? I'll tell you later. Number 2, you don't cry, you walk. This one keeps me up at night. Harry was 12 years old. His mom had just died in a car crash in Paris, and he was expected to walk behind her coffin for over a mile, down the streets of London. While millions of people stared at him, he was crying. Of course he was crying. He was a kid who just lost his mother. According to accounts from that morning, Charles looked at his sobbing 12-year-old son and reportedly told him, "You don't cry, you walk." No hug, no hand on his shoulder, no, "We'll get through this together." Just stop crying and perform for the cameras. That's Charles. That's how that whole family works. Image comes first. Feelings don't matter. The cameras are watching, so shut up and walk. Harry has talked about this for years, how that walk messed him up, how he felt like a zoo animal on display, how nobody let him grieve like a normal kid, how he still carries it with him decades later. In his book Spare, Harry wrote about the trauma of that day, the cameras, the crowds, the suffocating pressure to perform grief for the world while his heart was breaking. Diana deserved better. Those boys deserve better. But the royals only cared about one thing, how it looked on camera. Feelings didn't matter. Image did. Number 3, the boys were used as human shields. This comes straight from Alastair Campbell's diaries. He was Tony Blair's press secretary, one of the most powerful people in British politics. He knew everything happening behind closed doors. He wrote that the government was genuinely scared Charles would get attacked during the procession. And honestly, they had reason to be. The public hated Charles, blamed him for the affair with Camilla, blamed him for Diana's pain, for choosing his mistress over the mother of his children, and now Diana was dead. And Charles was about to walk through 2 million grieving, angry people. So what did they do? They put William and Harry on either side of him. The logic was cold. Nobody would throw anything at Charles if it might hit the boys. Nobody would rush him if Diana's own children were walking right beside him. 2 traumatized children, ages 15 and 12, positioned to protect their father from the public's rage. Used as human shields. Think about that. Their mother just died. And instead of being protected, they were used to protect the man the public blamed for her pain. Earl Spencer, Diana's brother, called making those boys walk a barbarity. Harry quoted him in his book Spare, a barbarity. Diana's own brother said it. He was absolutely right. Number 4, William said no. William didn't want to do it. He refused at first. Tina Brown wrote about this in the Diana Chronicles. William told the family, "I'm not marching in any bloody parade." He was 15. His mother had just died in the most public, horrible way possible, and he didn't want the entire world staring at him while he was falling apart inside. Can you blame him? Would you want to do that? But the palace pushed. Philip got involved. He told William he'd regret it forever if he didn't walk. Guilt, pressure. The usual Windsor playbook. Philip even offered to walk with him. "I'll walk if you walk." So William walked. Not because he wanted to, because they made him feel like he had no choice, because duty came before feelings, because the Windsor way demanded performance over protection. A 15-year-old boy, pressured into performing his grief for the world, because nobody in that family protected him. We're about a third of the way through, still haven't gotten to what was actually placed in Diana's coffin. That's coming. But first, what happened in the days right after she died. Number 5. William ran away. When Charles told William his mother was dead, William didn't cry. He didn't scream. He ran. Tina Brown wrote about this. William bolted out of the room and disappeared into the grounds at Balmoral. The estate is massive, thousands of acres of Scottish wilderness, hills and forests stretching in all directions, and William vanished into it. They couldn't find him. Prince Philip told the staff, "We can't find him." A 15-year-old kid, alone somewhere in the Scottish hills, trying to understand the worst news of his life. No cameras, no handlers, no adults offering comfort, just him and his grief and the endless empty land. That picture stays with me. William running, alone, because that family had no idea how to comfort a grieving child. They never have. Number 6, the Queen hid every TV. After Diana died, the Queen made a decision. She ordered all televisions and radios at Balmoral hidden or removed. A Channel 5 documentary revealed this years later. The Queen didn't want William and Harry seeing the news, the tributes, the flowers piling up, the whole world crying for their mother. Sounds like she was protecting them, right? Here's the problem. The Queen also refused to go back to London for days, didn't lower the flag, didn't address the nation. The newspapers were screaming, "Where is your Queen?" And she stayed hidden in Scotland. By hiding the TVs, those boys never saw how much the world loved their mum. The ocean of flowers, the millions mourning in the streets, the outpouring of grief that shook the nation. They found out eventually, and they'll never forget that week when everyone else in the world said goodbye to their mother, except them, kept in the dark, literally. Number 7, they almost dropped the coffin. Diana's coffin weighed 550 pounds, quarter of a ton, lined with lead, the way royal coffins always are, a weight that would test any group of men. The pallbearers, soldiers from the Welsh Guards, had trained for weeks, practiced with concrete blocks, rehearsed the route over and over. They thought they were prepared for anything, but nobody told them about the marble floors in Westminster Abbey. Richard Williams was the chief pallbearer, captain of the Welsh Guards at the time. He said when their boots hit that polished marble, boots with metal studs and metal plates on the soles, they started slipping. The coffin swayed, the men stumbled, they got out of sync with each other. For a moment, chaos threatened to break out. For a few terrifying seconds, they thought they were going to drop Diana's coffin, live, in front of 2 billion people watching around the world, the whole planet holding its breath, the most watched funeral in history, and they were losing control. They didn't drop it. But William said it was the scariest moment of his entire life. His hands still shake when he talks about it. Nobody watching had any idea how close it came. Number 8, she was buried in a borrowed dress. Diana was buried in a black dress from her favorite designer, Catherine Walker. It had long sleeves to cover the injuries from the crash. Here's the thing, though. Diana didn't own that dress. It was a sample, a prototype. one that hadn't even been finished yet. Diana's sisters chose it specifically to cover the damage to her arms from the accident. They needed something with long sleeves, something elegant, something Diana would have approved of. The woman who could have worn anything in the world, whose closet was full of designer gowns, whose every outfit made headlines, whose fashion choices influenced millions, was buried in something that never belonged to her. The most photographed woman of her generation, laid to rest in a borrowed dress. There's something heartbreaking about that detail, something that captures how quickly everything was taken from her. Number 9. 3 things went into her coffin. Paul Burrell, Diana's butler for years, the man she called my rock, revealed what was placed in her coffin. First, the rosary beads from Mother Teresa, the ones I mentioned earlier, a gift from a saint to a woman the world also considered holy. 2 women who dedicated their lives to the forgotten and the suffering, connected forever. Second, a photo of her 2 boys, William and Harry, the 2 people she loved most in this world, their faces with her forever, the sons she fought for, the sons she protected, the sons she would never see grow up. Third, a photo of her father, the 8th Earl Spencer, gone but not forgotten, the man who gave her the strength to be herself. That's what Diana took to her grave. Rosary beads, her sons, her father. No photos of Charles, no royal symbols, no crown jewels, nothing from the family that made her life so difficult, just faith, love, family. The things that actually mattered to her, the things the palace could never understand. Number 10, the 36 oak trees. Diana is buried on a small island in the middle of a lake at Althorpe, her family's estate, peaceful, private, far from the palace and the press and everything that made her life so hard. Just Diana, surrounded by water, finally at rest. To get to the island, you walk along a path lined with oak trees, exactly 36 of them, one for each year of her life. Each tree planted by the Spencer family after the funeral, a living memorial, something that will grow stronger each year for centuries. Long after everyone involved is gone, those trees will still be there, still standing, still honoring her memory, still growing toward the sky. The royals gave her a ceremony. Her own family gave her a forest. One lasted a day, the other will last forever. Number 11, the backup plan was a saxophone. Candle in the Wind is probably the most remembered moment from that funeral. Elton John at the piano, rewriting his famous song for Diana, the whole world crying together, 2 billion people united in grief. But he almost said no, wasn't sure he could get through it emotionally. He was Diana's close friend. He'd held her hand through some of her darkest moments. The thought of performing at her funeral nearly broke him. Documents in the National Archives show the palace had a backup plan. If Elton backed out, they were going to have a saxophone solo instead. A saxophone. At Diana's funeral. Instead of that heartbreaking piano performance that made the whole world weep together. Smooth jazz. Thank God he found the strength to say yes. That performance became one of the most watched moments in television history, the best-selling single of all time. A song that still makes people cry nearly 30 years later. Number 12, suicide rates jumped 17%. This is hard to talk about, but it matters. It shows just how much Diana meant to people. Medical researchers found that suicide rates in England went up 17% in the weeks after Diana died. That's hundreds of people, hundreds of families destroyed, hundreds of lives lost in the shadow of hers. Diana wasn't just famous, she made people feel seen. She touched AIDS patients when everyone else was scared. She sat with the dying in hospices. She hugged sick children in hospital wards. She walked through minefields to shine a light on suffering. She looked at people the world had thrown away and made them feel like they mattered. When she died, something broke in a lot of people. For some, losing Diana felt like losing the only person who understood them, the only public figure who seemed to actually care about ordinary people, the only voice that spoke for the forgotten. The palace called it a funeral. For millions, it was something much worse. It was losing the one person who made them feel less alone in the world. 3 secrets left. And remember that moment I mentioned where the crowd applauded at a funeral? We're almost there. But first, number 13. Harry's card said Mummy. On top of Diana's coffin, there were white flowers. And tucked into those flowers was a small white envelope. It was from Harry. He was 12 years old, and he'd written one word on the front: Mummy. 2 billion people watched that coffin move through London, and sitting right on top of it, in full view of the whole world, was a little boy's handwritten note to his dead mother. Harry has talked about this since, in interviews, in his book, in therapy. He remembers writing that card. He remembers placing it there. He remembers walking behind it for over a mile while the world watched. He was 12 years old. He'd just lost his mother, and all he could think to write was one word, the only word that mattered: Mummy. From a 12-year-old who just wanted his mother back. If you're still here, you're one of the people who actually remembers what that day felt like. You're one of the people who never forgot. Number 14, the crowd applauded at a funeral. Diana's brother gave a eulogy that day, and it was brutal. Earl Spencer stood in Westminster Abbey, the Queen and Charles sitting right there in the front row, and he went after the royal family. He talked about Diana's blood family protecting William and Harry, made it clear the Spencers were their real family, not the Windsors. He reminded everyone that Diana needed no royal title to generate her brand of magic. That line was a dagger aimed directly at the people who stripped her of her HRH after the divorce. He promised that the Spencers would continue to protect William and Harry. He took shots at the press. He criticized how the royals had treated Diana, all of it, right there in Westminster Abbey. While the Queen sat in the front row, the crowd outside the Abbey heard it on loudspeakers, and they applauded, inside a church, at a funeral. They clapped because somebody finally said what everyone had been thinking for years. The royals just had to sit there and take it. 2 billion people watching. Diana's own brother calling them out on live television. Only honest moment that whole day. The Windsors never forgave him for it. Number 15. The flowers almost crushed the gates. By the day of the funeral, the flowers outside Kensington Palace were 5 feet deep in places. Millions of bouquets. Handwritten notes, teddy bears, candles, photographs, messages of love from strangers who felt like they'd lost someone they knew. The smell was overwhelming. Dying flowers mixed with rotting stems, sweet and sickly at the same time. Workers said it was almost unbearable to be near, the air thick with decay and perfume, and the weight. The sheer weight of all those flowers was so heavy that officials thought it might actually break the palace gates. They kept moving bouquets to different areas just to stop the metal structure from buckling under the pressure. Engineers were worried. Security was worried. Nobody had ever seen anything like it. The public's grief was literally crushing the gates of the royal residence. The flowers kept coming. The notes kept piling up. Day after day, hour after hour, an endless tide of love. The royals wanted control. They wanted order. But the love people had for Diana was bigger than anything they could handle. It overwhelmed them. It always did, and it always will. 15 secrets. From Charles silencing his crying son, to those boys used as shields, to Diana buried in a borrowed dress with Mother Teresa's rosary and a photo of her children. This wasn't a dignified goodbye. It was a family choosing image over 2 grieving boys who needed protection, performance over feelings, cameras over compassion. But those boys grew up, and William remembers each failure from that week. Click here to discover 30 things only William can do as king, and why the people who hurt his mother should be very worried.